Or yes, sir. All right, so we are starting. All right, let's quickly go through what we have. Um, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, very good. Um, okay, so today what we are going through is again very, very important and very critical items. Let's see what we have today. So today, okay, so we left, we go through different types of security models, right? So we understood that in your organization, if you are working as an admin or if you are working as a architect or developer, you still need to understand all of these concepts, right? So what exactly the security can do is, if you recap, you can able to let me open up the. So what we can do is basically we can able to hide some objects. We can show particular apps to particular people, and we can basically we can even hide up to the record. So record we haven't discussed in the detail, but we have discussed rest of the items, and how we can show the different admin profiles. We can have marketing profiles. So we said in this particular example we have three main types of profiles: admin, sales, and marketing. Obviously admin is like a more dedicated, it has all the access, everything. So you keep the admin profile, and again in your org, what you need to do is whenever the default admin profile is there, so first thing first, make a clone of it. Make a clone, and the name of the clone can be admin profile, either a backup, or admin profile your name or something. So you have the actual admin profile that comes as a default. You always save that, don't make changes to that. So in any case, if you make some changes while you're playing around accidentally, even I make changes, and then you can forget about it, okay, what the changes that you have done. So always make a copy of the admin profile and try to use the one that you have cloned it, and then you can even make changes, do whatever, and at the end of the day, if you're not sure, you can go back and change the, make another clone, and then assign yourself the copy. So make sure you have the default admin profile is backed up already, and or make just a backup of that, and never use the backup, just keep as a backup. And anytime you need to go back to the original profile for the admin, you can make a clone and use that. So always have a backup copy ready, just in case if you make a lot of changes, or if you delete something, or you're not sure what changes were there. Rather spending a lot of time, you can just roll back your admin profile to the base admin profile. We also talk about, you have sales profile, marketing profile. We talked about it, that if for example sales people can only see the sales cloud, marketing people can see the marketing cloud. So when we say marketing cloud, meaning that now they cannot see anything from the sales cloud. Same thing for salespeople, they cannot see anything. So we block from the very top that, okay, no app access. So it means that if you don't have access to the app, obviously you are not able to go into the objects, you cannot go able to the field. Now today we are talking about another scenario where you are working within the same team. So let's now talk about the marketing team. So all of you guys have, for example, working in four of you guys are working in the marketing team, and you have the same profile. Now within that, also within the same team, also there are different hierarchies, different roles, different people are working on different things. So for example, if you are working for a sales company, what happen is, obviously you don't want to share all your data between the team, because obviously you're also kind of a competing for your quota, you're also competing for the territories. And in some cases you don't show your data to your peers, although you are working on the same platform, you're working on the same company, but because this is something that you are working on your clients, so there could be records. In some cases you don't want to show to your peers, but your manager can have access. However, in some cases, while you're together working on the same account, you might need to share that particular record or a set of records. So now today we will talk about all those items that, let's say if you have, how do you share the records. So first thing first is, hopefully you guys understand the profile concept and other. So now let's say we move forward, and first thing I want to show you is, for example, if we go to our app, whatever we have created. So first thing, a little deviant is like how you can able to see your different views, right? Now you can actually edit the view so that you can see more information. Right now, I only see one list of item and that's it. So let's say I want to see who created that, maybe the house name, maybe the phone number, so that I can, when I'm viewing my information, I do. So for example, right now if I say, okay, what is house to, I need to know the phone number, I need to have to go inside. But let's say I want all of these things outside, you can change the view. You can also put filters. So right now I have only 5 records, but imagine I have a 500 records. And every time, let's say I want to check out the list for all the lists which are residential, right? All the lists which are commercial, all the lists which their price is more than 500,000 or something, like something that I work on a daily basis, right? If I'm looking for something very specific, then you can always search it here. So you can, so just giving you some idea that how do you work on a normal scenario. So let's say you're working and you want to find a record, you can always type it in and it will give you an idea. You can search it from here. But let's say you want different views that you use it every day. So let's say you have 5 different type of views that you want every day to look it up. So you can edit the view. How you can edit that? You can go to this wheel here. It says list view controls. And let's create a new view, right? So I can create a new view. Let's say I can call this one for now is yeah, test view. And same thing here, you have an options that only you can see it, everybody can see it, you can share it. Again, if you are creating it for yourself or you want all of the team can able to see it, you can do that. So let's say for now we can say, okay, I just want to see it, or let's say all users want to, I want to share with all the users. So we have called test view. Okay, so when you create a test view, you can see that in the drop down there is a new view available which is called test view. Okay, right now there's nothing much. The only difference right now is by default the filter says here filter by owner, meaning that now the list is only showing the records which are owned by you, right? So here if I go to all, it is showing 5 different records. Okay, because I have access to all the records right now, I can see all the records. So within this app called Z Property Dealer, we have 2 users. Okay, now I'm giving you the actual scenario. So we have 2 users. One is called tester and one is the admin. Okay, or you can say one is the manager. So manager, if he wants to see all the records, manager can see all the records. Manager want to see the records that manager has created, he can, I just created a filter called test view. If I do that, it will show me these records are created by me. Now you want to make sure that this is true. What we can do is we can add some more fields over here. So again, um, go back to this wheel. Let me make sure if I'm recording. Yes. Let go back to your wheel and go to select fields to display. Easy one. All you need to do is whatever you need, show, just move it to the right column. We want to see cell number. Sure. You want to do um, um, owner first name. Sure. You want to do property type. Sure. Whatever you want. I mean, there's no limitation. Obviously, there's a limited number of fields that you want to view. So based on whatever you need, you can move to the right hand column, and then here you go, you have a new view available. Now you can also, so right now the only filtration for this one, as I said, is based on owned by you. So when you say you, what does it mean? So if I open, so right now who is the user? User is KLE. So anything which is created by me, I'm the owner of that record. That means I can see my records, but I have access to everything. So if I want to see all the records, if I click all the records, then I see everything from the others too. Now let's go ahead and add the same fields over here so we can see the difference. So I can go ahead, select the fields to display, easy. And then you can move whatever you want, for example, price, cell number, created by, um, owner first name. I mean, if you want address, you can have address, property type, whatever you need, you can get it. And now this will be updated. So here you can see the owner field. So here these 2 records are created by our second user who is a test user. and the rest of the 3 records are created by this user, who is right now obviously admin, but this is a user K. So if I want, and again, as I said, right now, the kind of environment we have, that within this app, if both users have access, they can see each other records. Okay, so hopefully everybody understand what it means, that okay, these records are created by me, and these records are created by the second user. I'm not logged in as a second user at the moment. I'm logged in as me, which is K Ali. All right. Now, I just showed you how you can add. So if you want to add filters to this view, so for example, we can go back to our custom view, which is test view, and let's add another filter. So what it means by filter, so add a filter, and the filter can be, let's say we have asking price, and we says, we can have different operators. You can have equal, less than, greater than. So you can say, okay, greater than, just show me greater than, let's say. So there are 3 records right now. We want to see all the properties which are higher than 100,000. So technically it will show me 120 and 110. So let's do that. So 100,000. So in that way, if let's say I work on a daily basis on properties which are more than 100,000, or at least I have a filter, I don't need to filter it out. I can save it, and then right there it is there. So next time when I come back, or I can actually rename this filter as well if I want to. So I can say this test view, and what are the 2 filters? My, and then I can also say that properties greater than 100,000. So in that way, this is saved. And every time if I need to check, okay, you know what, let me quickly check how many properties are there. So let's say I'm sitting with a client, and client says, okay, I can buy something, I have a range that I can buy higher than 100,000. Said, okay, let me just filter it quickly. Or if he says I can only buy less than 1,000, then you can go ahead and put the filter less than, and you can create another thing on a fly. You can do either on a fly, or if you have clients who come back on this requirement. So basically this is just a view, quick view. You can add different fields to see, you can add different filters, whatever you want to work, it will define by the person who is using it. Whatever they need, they can very quickly add, and you can add as many filters as you want. So let's say you want to add one more filter, you can say something else. For example, I want anything which is like a max offer for something, or let's say you say property type. So here, property type. So let's say we have 2 types. Let's make it commercial, and just show me the commercial properties. I save it, and boom, it is just showing me a property which is owned by me, KLE, which has price higher than 100,000, and which is a commercial property. So this gonna help me in viewing, right? So I can have as many views as I want based on the daily requirements that I received as a realtor, so that I can quickly able to, if I'm on a call with the client and he says, okay, how many properties do you have in 20165? And for example, if I don't even have a filter, I can quickly go there, create a filter, and show them right away. And then I can save that, so the next time if somebody else called, or based on your daily day-to-day process, you know what the clients want, and you can create it. Even if you don't, you can even simply able to filter it out, view it the way you want. All right, so that was something just for the different viewing properties. However, what we were actually looking for, we were saying that this is our list of all the records. 3 of the records created by me, which is KLE, and 2 of the records created by test user. Okay. Now, right now, you are already covered profile wise, because you have a separate profiles. You give the access. Both of the users can able to see that. Now let's check first thing, that if I'm KLE, let me log in as test user and see what is the situation. Okay. So let me log out from here and see what is the difference if I log in as a test user. So I'm logging in as a test user, and always make sure that, sometime it takes multiple attempts, but always make sure that you are logged in as a test user. So now test user, and let me close this. Okay, so now I'm logged in as a test user. Okay, so right here, let's check first all. Okay, I only see 2 records. Okay, and if I see list my view, I only see 2 records, and these 2 records are owner is test user. So it means that this test user is somehow unable to see records created by the other user who is KLE. Okay, but KLE was able to see the records created by this, right? Because again, KLE is an admin also. So just think about from admin perspective, admin also want to see everything, or it could be a manager profile. So manager should able to see everything, but this guy, this test user can only see his own records. Even if he go all records, he only see his own records. Okay. So is everybody clear with the actually what I mean by records? So record which I'm creating. So let's create one more record as a test user, right? So let's say I have another office 22, um, and I'm creating one more record. A commercial property, and it's an office, and create a record. Okay, so now I created one more record. Now if I go to my list view, first of all, let's see check all. Obviously I don't have access, so I only see the records that I have created. And if I see my list view, again, the difference between that and my list view is there is a filter already, and it will force only my properties. But in this case, it's same, because even I don't have access to other properties, so I only seeing my own properties. So these three properties I created, I'm the owner. But if I have a manager, he can see my properties, which I already show you. But and again, if there are more users, let's say I have three other colleagues that are working, I cannot see their records as well, so I can see that. So where is this being controlled by? So this is not controlled from profile. This is not controlled from other things. So there is something called OWD. OWD means organization wide default. So that's obviously I normally send out this PowerPoint as well. So let's open a PowerPoint so I can reference to that, so you can get an idea where it is coming from. I believe it's in third PowerPoint. So OWD is right here. And what OWD means is basically they are the minimum uh, requirement that you want in terms of records. So now we are talking about records. Do you want to show all the records to everybody? And if you want to show all the records to everybody, do you allow them to edit as well, right? Or do you just want them to read only? So that's like a minimum. So as I discussed last time, that if there are 10 records, and if you want to hide even one record, then you need to make it private, and then you can open it up in higher things. So we discuss about role hierarchy. So if you're a manager and if you go higher, then you can able to see it. Then we will learn today something called sharing rules. And then there is also one more type that you can do, manual sharing. But first of all, let's talk about organization wide default. So organization wide default, you can compare that. Again, I can give you an analogy of a building. So if you enter in a building and there are 5 rooms and there is one kitchen and one common room, okay, you are okay that everybody have access to common room and kitchen and able to enter into the building. But you have few people have access to few rooms, few people have access to few rooms, and that's how the situation is. So based on that, what we are saying that those 2 rooms, which is common room and kitchen, everybody have access, right? So when I say everybody have access, meaning they can able to get in, get out, they have full access. In our terminology, let's say I want to give them read write access. Okay, for these 2 rooms, you can do whatever. You can go there, you can check records, you can delete records, you can view records, you can edit records, you can do whatever. But the other 5 rooms, different people have different access. So organization-wide defaults also work on object by object basis. So for example, there is an object where you want nobody to view each other records, like in this one. So we have an object we talk about, this is called Z properties. And what we want to do with this particular object is right now as a user, I cannot see it. Okay, as a test user, I cannot see all the records. So let's say our policy changes and the company is saying that, you know what, so that you already know how many properties do we have, and maybe if maybe your client is interested in this property, you can work with the other property agent. Okay, so the requirement is open up the view so that each test user can able to see all the properties, but only read only. They cannot able to edit or delete or anything else, but only able to read it. So right now the access could be read or read write. Read write meaning you can edit also. So this is the requirement. So first thing first is I cannot do it as a test user. I need to go back as an admin. So what I'm trying to do now is instead of logging back in and out, I have opened up another laptop, and let's see if I can just change my screen over there and use it that computer for making the changes. Here I'm logged in as test user. Okay, perfect. And there's a list of users here. Okay.
So, the record level security, is it only controlled with this organization-wide defaults?
Yes, it is a minimum one. Then you have, okay, now I can show you what is the minimum. It means that you either open up everything or for this particular object. So it goes object by object. Okay. So first of all, you said, okay, for this object, I want to give them I want to make it private. Right now, it's called private. I can show you. But then you said, okay, I don't want to change the organization by default. I just want to give these three record access to somebody. So you can use something called manual sharing or sharing rules. So we'll talk about all of those. But right now, the first situation is, okay, how overall you can manage the organization wide default. So let's first go through that, and then you can easily understand what I mean by that. So let me share let me unshare this and um, unshare? No, okay, let me share the other. Okay, so okay, so can you guys see my screen? You guys can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here I'm actually logging in from another computer, right? So I just give myself, make another user and just unshare my screen from here and then share from over there, right? So right now what you're looking at, this is the admin. The other machine has the tester. So here I can just go ahead and basically uh, I want to change, or first of all, I want to check my organization by default. So I go to my view, I go to setup, and the way you can check what is your organization by default for the particular object is you can go for sharing rules. If you type in sharing rules, sharing settings, you can able to view your OWD setting, which is nothing but organization wide default setting. So here you can see there's something called organization wide defaults. Okay. Now let's quickly go to our object, which was Z properties. And right now, can you see that says private? And just to give you an idea, so this is default internal access. This is default external access. What is external access? It's something that you, if for example, you have different communities, or if you have different third, like outside also, there are some access that outside people like chatter users and communities, which is also embedded in Salesforce. So do they have access or not? So they created kind of a separate view for them. So right now we don't worry too much about external users and grant access using hierarchies. We learned in our last session that if you check this box, it means that if you are a manager and if you have the hierarchy turned on from here, then if you are a manager, then you can able to see all your subordinates records by default. Okay, so that's what it means.
And you said that this overrides all kinds of security, right? The hierarchy.
Not all kinds of security in terms of record items. So for example, if you don't have access to that object, then obviously you cannot see it. Okay, so let's say if you have a user who do not have access to a particular object, then even if you check this, it doesn't matter because you cannot even access the object. But if you do have an object, and if the manager is also, if the manager has access to the app, he also have access to the object. Then if you turn on this hierarchy, then he can, all this will provide you is if you have subordinates and you are a manager, let's say you have two subordinates, whatever records they are creating, you can able to see them. That's the only difference.
Yeah, I get it. So if there is another manager in the organization, then the manager in question can't see their records, right?
They
But
cannot, because either because they are in parallel positions. But if there is a VP who is above both the managers, he can able to see both of them from the virtue of this hierarchy checkbox. So
okay, I got
hierarchy works exactly like, if whoever is a higher position, they can see that. But if you are on a parallel position, then it's not gonna work.
okay, I get it now.
Okay.
But they can see everything, like the objects, the records, whatever
No,
they
it
created.
is only for records. So if you
Okay.
don't have access to objects, then that's it. This one doesn't allow you, doesn't give you access to object. How do you get access to object? Then again, you need to go back to your profile and add the object from there.
But is it true for the subordinates as well?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, obviously subordinates, if they don't have anybody below them, then it's almost useless for them, right?
No, I'm talking about if a manager has a subordinate and the subordinate creates an object
Mhm.
and manager turns on the hierarchy, can he see their object or not?
So this question is not valid. Why?
Uh, because manager would like to see everything.
No.
So
Anybody else? Why is this question not correct? Come on, we have 13 other people, or at least 12 other people.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
so I asked that if the a manager has a subordinate and the subordinate creates an object and the manager turns on hierarchy, will he be able to I mean, if the subordinate creates an object and the manager turns on the hierarchy, will he
I
be able?
think manager has default access to see the subordinate.
But if he creates an object which is private, I mean, if he doesn't give access to manager, then what?
I guess by default still manager or like Purim mentioned, the upper level hierarchy can see the lower level.
I think you guys are still missing the point. Anybody else?
I
Who
think
can make
subordinate cannot
who can make
block
changes?
his superior
Who can make changes?
admin.
Admin. Okay.
So subordinate cannot even create an object unless he's an admin. He cannot do anything, right? Even
So
manager cannot do anything, because as I said, if you allow everybody to become an admin, then you don't need Salesforce. You need something else. Then it's not gonna be manageable.
I'm sorry, it's still a little confusing. So if one person creates an object,
You cannot. A person cannot create an object. Who create an object?
oh yeah, it's admin. Okay, get it.
So if you have 10 people, only one person who is admin, he don't care if there's a CEO. Even CEO cannot create an object.
Oh,
Why?
they can only create records. Okay, I get
They
it.
can only create records. You got it. So there's a difference between objects. There's a difference between records. There's a difference between app. So app, objects, these rules, these checkboxes, sharing rules, all of these, which are more of a management or configuration, is only done by admin. Users have no access. Period.
Okay. So in our case, then if a subordinate creates an object, the manager will automatically be able to see that when he turns on the hierarchy.
Record.
Record, yeah. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. Now you are right. So if a subordinate creates a new record, like I showed you right now, correct? Sorry. So right now, because we have made it private. Okay. So you will see, I will make the change. So right now you see here, we have private. Okay. So what I can do is let's change it to read write. Okay. Read write meaning we want to, let's say we just want to give a read access so that, it make more sense. I don't want anybody to change my record, but they can see my record. Okay. Let's do that part. So I go in there, I do edit, excuse me, and then I can do Z property and change it to read only. Okay. I don't want to give write because I don't want different people to changing other person's record. So other sales agent, I don't want them to change other people records, but they can see it because as I said, as a company, let's say if we have different properties and if maybe my client is interested in another property which is owned by my peer, then I can work with him, and then we can able to save. So let's go ahead and make it public read only. All right. And then what I'm going to do here is stop share and get back to my first screen, which I have a user as a test user, right? So this is actually a sales agent, right? The other screen is for admin, and this screen is for the actual sales user. Okay. So now if I go back as a sales user and I say view all, like just everything, can you see the difference? As soon as I change it to read only, now the user, so just in this scenario, think about two people. One is admin. So admin is obviously, he just want to see everything. So forget about admin. But this user is actually a sales agent. So I allow, as an admin, I allow user, test user, to able not only to see his records, but also records created by other user. Right now, just imagine this KLE is another user. So can you see that? Now, if for example, let's go to this record and try to edit this record. What is saying, looks like there is a problem. You do not have the level of access necessary to perform the operation you requested. Please contact the owner of the record or your administrator if necessary. So just remember this, that there is something called owner of the record. So there are two options that you can able to edit this or view this, is either by the owner. So owner of a record can allow you, and there is something called manual sharing. So we'll go in there in few minutes, but right now there are two options that you can view or edit a record, is either the owner. So for example, if I'm owner of the record, I can allow you to see and edit, or you can send an email to your admin, say, hey, I'm working on this particular record. I need an edit access because blah, blah, blah. And can you give me an access? If it is approved, then he can give you an access. How will he give you an access? He can just give you an access for this particular record. Or, for example, the policy has changed. Now they says that, you know what? Everybody's working as a team. Everybody's working on all the projects. Let allow everybody to change the record as well. So previously what we did is we only allow them read only. So this time what I can do is allow them. So again, I'm back as an admin. So here I'm an admin, I edit and go back to the same object. It just takes a minute. And I said, instead of read only, let's give the full rights, read and write. Just the requirement comes up, save it. Again, let's get back to our user. This is a test user. Now I go back again, make sure first of all I can able to see all the records. I can see it. And then I said, okay, let's go to a record not owned by me, but another person, which is KLE. I go in there and now I do edit and boom, I have full access to make the changes. Okay, did you see how does it make a difference? Okay, let me take a pause and let you guys just think about it and let me know if you guys understand. Again, this is not for individuals. Again, as the name suggests, organization-wide default. So what it means, if there are 10 people like test user, they all able to see all the records, they all able to edit all the records. Is it clear? Anybody? Okay. Any questions from this part? Is it 100% clear? Any doubts, please go ahead and ask. So what we did is basically organization wide default, meaning based on the different records, do you want, because again, at any point in time, if I go just to my records, I can see them, right? I mean, I have access to my own records based on the profile. They said, okay, you have access, you have edit access. and you have view access. So I have read, if you remember, CRED. So I have a CRED access that is only for my own records. Even within, if I ask you as an admin that whenever you can create a record, your own record that you are creating. So for example, when I say my own record, I mean if this is my view, so these are my records. If I ask you, is there a possibility that these records which are owned by you, you cannot even edit your own records? Is it possible? And if so, how? So why is it not possible?
Because you created them, so obviously you should have access, all kinds of
No. So
access.
for example, if you are working, let's say you have 100 people working on a counters, right? And they are accepting different, let's say you work in an airline, and you have 100 people who work as a sales reps on a counters. They are creating records. If they have full access, guess what, they can do whatever they want. And you don't want that. You said, okay, yeah, you can create a record, but you cannot edit and change anything later on. If you need to change, remember, if you even go to grocery store and if they need to refund you, they have to ask a manager to come in, and then you can get the refund, correct? So let's say if that is the same scenario, how would you do that? And that thing you should able to do based on what you learned so far. Can anybody have any idea how you can do that?
You change the security settings, sharing settings. Sorry.
Like how? What should I change?
Make it to read only.
So that will, the settings that we are working right now, it has to do with the other people records, not for your own records. Even if you remember, I made the private, even the private meaning I cannot see other people records, but I can see my records and I can even edit my records. So this is not the location. That's what I'm trying to make you understand, that this OWD, it has to do with the other people records, not your records. Even if you make the private mean the most hardest um, security setting you can do is private. So let's say if you make private, so let's do that. Let me make it private. So what I can do is, on other machine I'm not switching it, but let me just make it private and I'll get back to you so that you can see. So let me, so I'm not showing you the other screen, but I mean, you already see what I'm doing. All I'm doing is changing from read write to private, and let's see what difference will happen. And again, this is type of thing that you have to start developing, thinking about. And again, I don't think about, because this is the first time you're learning. So by no means you should know that, but it's just something for your mental exercise, right? So if you understand it, trust me, you can get it so easily. So I just change to private, right? And then if I go back and list all, I only see these five. If I see, and again, sometime you can see recently viewed all, but don't worry about that. If you see all, I can only see the records that I have created, right? So because what I did private, right? Now my question is, even for my own records, the requirement is I cannot able to change. So I already did the private, so that part is done. That's the most restrictive I can do. Let's get into a user and then try to edit. I can edit my own records right now. My ticket for you guys is, I want you to make a change where even I cannot change my record. I can create a new record, but I cannot go back and edit my own record. And if I want, then I can send a request to my admin and say, hey, can you change this thing in my record? Or maybe I can send an email to my manager. Maybe he have access. But where is that location as an admin that you can go ahead and change that kind of setting? Anybody?
Probably read only, right?
Hmm?
If I make those records as read only.
You still didn't get it. We already make the most restricted.
Private, okay.
Okay, what does it mean when I say most restricted? Like the maximum security you can do is make private. What does it actually do? First of all, think about it. Answer me. What does it really do? When you make it more restricted, what is the difference between, let's say, if I make it private and if I make it read only or read write? What is the difference? Can somebody elaborate that?
So private would be viewable only by the owner, read only would be viewable by everyone else, and then write would be editable by everyone else.
But when you say everyone, it's not everyone, because that also confuse people. We talk about records. Okay.
Yeah.
When I say private, it means that everybody will able to view their own records, and that's it.
Yeah, so that's what I meant.
Exactly. So maybe, yeah. So just to be more clear for everybody. So when I say private, means everybody, whatever records they have created, they can only see their own records. Now, if I make it read only, now I can able to see other records, but I can read only their records. Okay. And if I make it read write, I can see other records and I can also edit other records. It has nothing to do with the setting of my own records. My question is, where do I go back and change the settings of my own records that I am creating? This is communication.
That would be, I think, permission set.
That is not permission sets, because permission sets is also not on a record level. Record level. Do you remember CRED? CRED?
Yeah.
Let's go back and let me show you as an admin. Um, okay. Let me know if you guys see my screen. Okay, so again, move to another computer where I'm logging as an admin. So let's go back to our profiles one more time. Okay, so the reason why I'm asking is, again, as I said, don't worry about it, but I'm trying to confuse you so that you can think about it, that what exactly are you learning, and then you can think about it. So let's say if I go to, instead of profiles, I just go to users. And let's say I want to review what system admin, or let's say this test user profile allow me. So straight go to something called custom object permissions. So it's all the way down here. So basic access, right? Here you have, where is our, so here's the Z properties, okay? So now read this again, read. So you can able to read the records by who? By you. Create, can you create a new record? So if I uncheck this, like if I uncheck this thing here, what will happen?
You can't create new
You
records.
cannot able to create a new record. The new button will not be there anymore. If I remove this read, then you can, and if you have checked the create, then you can able to create the record. But then if you go back and view all or view anything, you cannot even see the record that you just created. You got it?
Okay.
Then if I uncheck edit, then you cannot edit your own records.
Okay, so but in this case, all the users associated with this profile will have the same permissions, right?
Yes, but this will only governs your own records.
Yeah, created by me.
Yeah.
Right.
So for example, let's say we have in OWD setting. So let's okay. So hopefully everybody got from this point. Let me get back to this one and open up a Excel. So let's now think about OWD is private. Okay. What does it allow you? That only access to your own records. Everybody has access to their own records. Anybody has confusion about this statement, these three?
No.
No?
No.
So what it means, we go in OWD setting, and let's do like this. So in OWD setting, I make it private. Okay. And what does it really mean? That it means that everybody have access to their own records. So if you have 10 people, everybody creating whatever record, they have access to their own records. Now, what they can do with their own records is a separate discussion. So now we talk about own record access. That is managed by profile. And if you have CRED, so C for create, R for read, E for edit. So if you have, let's say, edit checked, then you can edit your own records. And if I take it off, like if I take the edit off, then you cannot edit your records. If I take delete off, then you cannot delete your records, own records, and everybody, whoever that have profile, obviously, let's say if 10 people have the same profile, everybody will go through the same changes, right? So the one that we are learning right now, that is for the other people record. But what will happen to your own record, and how do you manage those individually for everybody, their own records? Then you go back to CRED settings, and then you can allow them, okay, you can create a record, you can read a record, and in most of the cases, you disable E and D, which means D is 99-100% because you don't want people to delete records. I think whatever I have worked so far, I don't see any organization where they allow their end users to delete records. They said even if you want to delete, you have to send it to your manager. Manager has to send it to admin, and only admin can delete it. In some cases, if you have like a sales team or somebody who do not have enough authority, they even take away the edit records, meaning that you can create a record, you can view it, but you cannot edit it. For example, by mistake you put a wrong cost or wrong something, then you have to open a ticket with the admin and say, hey admin, can you update this for me? So they will update it and say, okay, now your record is updated, you're good to go. But for example, if you're working in a company that they the level of access that they allow, that yes, whatever record you are responsible of your own records. So maybe I can give you an edit records, edit access. So it means that in most of the cases, the maximum you can get is CRE. D, I don't see anybody, I don't see a reason why you allow anybody to delete any record. Because for example, if I'm leaving the company, I have a D access, I just go in there and I can at least delete my own, all the records. And then company, obviously they have a ways you can retrieve it, but why do you want to go through the hassle? Is everybody clear between these two?
Yes.
Very good. All right. Now let's talk about, so now I'm hoping that everybody understand what is mean by OWD. And we already said that let's make it private. So let me go back. I think I already make it private, right? So can I see other? No. So I can only see my records. And if I even go anywhere like all, my view, I can only see my records. So let's get back to Mr. Admin. Um, okay, so I'm back to admin. Um, okay, now remember we said if your OWD setting is private, okay. Now there is one user, test user. I want that user to at least able to view, but there are, let's say, 10 different users, okay. Now the question is, so the request is, I can open this up. I said you got a ticket. So you got a ticket on your day one, on your morning, that allow user, his name is test user, to view records by the team, So let's say this user is maybe working on some analysis, or maybe creating a report or something like that, and this user needs to get access. So right now our OWD setting is private, meaning that nobody can able to see each other records. And this is also a regular user, a test user is a regular user. And just want to confirm if that is true. So we go into our, how do you confirm that? You go to home, you go to uh, sharing settings. If I can spell it correctly. So sharing settings, and just want to quickly see. And again, we are just picking up one object, and you have to do, like if you have multiple objects, you have to do that individually with each object. Okay, that is also important. So right now I said this is private. So that's why I state over here that this is private. But, and then let's say I have 10 different users, but I said just this user, this test user, the ticket is that allow this user to able to view all the records from the team, but without changing the OWD. Because what is the problem? If I change the OWD, what will be the problem? Then all the 9 other people can also see each other records, and that's what I don't want. So now I need to use as a second option. There's an option called sharing rules. Okay, so now let's say what it means. So let's say if you want to selectively allow people to able to view something or view records, then you can do that. So let's go ahead and learn how to do that. On the same page where you have these sharing settings, if you go a little bit further, then you start seeing the sharing rules. And again, sharing rules are for independent or each object. Okay, again, they're for each object because all of these are governed by each object. So let's go to the object of our concern. So Z property, and this is the object. We want to create a new sharing rule. If you click new, you want to call that, whatever, sharing all records, So that's the name of our sharing rule. And there are two ways you can share. So either you can share based on the record owner. So let's say you want to share all the records from very particular owner, right? So let's say you only want to share all the records from a user who is responsible for West Coast markets, or a manager or something else, or you want to use based on a particular criteria. So all the records which has worth more than 100,000, based on this rule, and this rule is assigned to whoever person able to see all those records. So there are two different criteria. So let's see what does record owner mean. And we already understand in our case, there are two people who are record owners. One is KLE and the other one is test user. So here we go, and we said roles. And again, for this one, you need to have roles. So in this one, for example, if you remember, the first role that we have is we assign them CMO. Okay. Anybody don't recall that? Remember, we put them as a chief marketing officer. The KLE is a chief marketing officer. And right now, the other user is test user, and test user is a marketing user. So this person, all the records from this person, and it means that, I mean, if you have multiple people, then if you assign a role which is higher than that, then you can get all of them. So basically, or you can choose groups also. So for example, you can make one group of all the marketing users, and that you can use it. But if you want to use just a particular role, you can do that. You can create a group, so whatever you want, and or you can choose roles and subordinates. In that way, not only the manager but everybody who works in the manager, they can do that. So in our case, we don't have that many records, so I choose CMO. So all the records by CMO. And if you remember, CMO is who person? CMO is the admin right now, because we don't have a choice. So we are using as another user just for the sample. Share, select the users to share with. Who do I want to share? Can anybody tell me? Who is
With one user, so test user.
test user? And this is a little more tricky. So do you remember what was his role for the test user?
I don't remember.
And if you want to see what role he has, where do you go and check it out? So let me open another window, and let's say if you want to check quickly, let's say you are doing this and you're not sure what his role is. So all you can do is you can go to users, like go to home, go to users, and from the user you can not only see the profile, but also you can see what role he is in, right? So CMO, remember, like if you don't know, don't worry about it. You can go back and create a role for the first user, KLE CMO. The other role is marketing team. No worries. So I can go back here and select the role, and I say marketing team. There you go, marketing team. Any questions so far? Is anything which is not clear to anybody?
That's good.
Okay, so I choose the record from this guy who is a CMO. Just think about it, a guy, right? We don't care about who is this person. So one person who is a CMO. Right now the situation is we have 10 people, and we are only saying that all the records from this role CMO, make sure that this guy, test user, whose role is marketing team, he can able to see it. Right now, actually, with this virtue, all the people under the marketing team, they can able to get access. But then you can create a separate group, or you can do other items. But right now we don't have even that problem, because right now we just have that, so we can just allow.
So if we have to share with just one person, so the best practice would be to create a group and then just place one person in there, right?
Got it. Absolutely. Absolutely. You just create a group with one person and just allows it. But normally, let's say if you want to, even if there are very few records, I can talk about it later. But let's say if you just want to give access to 3 records to one person, then you don't even need to do this. What you can do, there's another process which will after this called manual access, and you can just give one record to another person from your own thing. Okay, but this is normally when you are giving to either multiple group of people or something like that. That's where you use these rules.
Okay.
Okay, so right now hopefully everybody's clear, but and again, this is just an example. Then you have all these different options where you can create groups, you can have roles and subordinates, and then we also talk about criteria. But let's focus on this first. And then right now I'm saying that, okay, what do you want to give? Let's say I want to just only give read only. So all the record from the CMO can be viewed by this guy, whoever under the marketing team. And what kind of access? Read only. Let's do that. Let's save it. Whatever they're saying, that's fine. Okay, okay. Um, and let's switch back to our um, let's switch back to our other user who is a test user. Again, you make sure we are a test user. We are. Now let's see, can I able to see all the records? Oh, cool, I can, right? And let's see what kind of access do I have. I go to the CMO record, I try to edit it, boom. So I give access only to one person. In this case, I mean, that person belongs to marketing team. And what kind of access I gave them, they can view it. But if I go back to my other records, which my own records, I can able to edit my records. So does this make sense? So now what you did is OWD. Let me switch back to other screen so that I can. So what we did, what was the example that we already good with OWD? We make OWD private. So for example, 10 people you have in a team, you just want, let's say 2 people you want them to able to see, and they come under marketing, okay, to see the records. So overall, nobody can see each other records, but you said, okay, these 2 people who are under marketing, the all the records created by KLE, I want them to share on a permanent basis because they are working together, for example, right? And read only. So what I said, okay, OWD I cannot touch. Why? Because if I touch OWD, then everybody will be affected. So that option is gone. Okay, what is the next option? Sharing rule. Okay, what I can do, I can either share it by a user, or I can share it by uh, or I can share it by criteria also. And what is the difference between the criteria? So either I can choose by owner, and if I choose by criteria, then for example, I can say any property type, for example, which is equal to residential, that will be shared with who? That will be shared with the marketing guy. So what I can do, first of all, let me go ahead and delete the other rule. So let's just delete that rule. Okay, now let me create a new one, and I'll say this time. So that will mean just call it something sharing rule, and then based on criteria is such that all the property types that are equal to residential, this guy who has a role, or this could be multiple people as well, as I said, it could be one person, could be multiple, anybody who is under this marketing role, where is that marketing team, they can able to get access of read only anything which is residential. So now I'm not even like share everything, but share only records which are what type? Residential. Okay, so you have a lot of control. We have multiple fields, you can have multiple, okay, property not only residential, but the price only less than 1,000, 100,000, more than 100,000, only this, only that, only whatever criteria you have. And I said, okay, save it. Okay, and if I Okay, let me just make sure we have records like that. So I can go to sharing. I can check out some records. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a Z property. Okay, so let me change this record to a residential. So at least I have one record. Okay, now I can share my other screen and what would you expect? At least one record. So here, all, and you can see that by KLE, there's one record which is residential now started showing up. Remember, there was three total records. The two records were commercial, and one record was the one that we just changed was residential. So you see that even within that, you can have different filters. Does it make sense? So there were total three records created by KLE. I only says that any records which are under residential, they can be shared as read only to anybody who is under marketing team. And right now we know that we have only one person under marketing team. Again, only read only. Anybody has any question for this?
One quick question, Karan. What if you want to change situation like somebody left the company and you want to change the record ownership in case if you want to assign someone else?
Yeah, you can change the record ownership as well.
Okay.
The admin can change the record ownership as well. You can do
How
that.
do that? Is it like in profile settings, or is there separate ownership settings?
You can change it by, if you're an admin, you can go to, you can even like we will go through like import export features right now. So even you can have, let's say you have, obviously I'm assuming that you have, let's say 100,000 records or 50 500 records, because usually the record number is pretty high, so you don't want to change it one by one. So what you can do is you can export the data for them and change on an Excel sheet to a new person, and then re-import the data with the new owner, and that's it.
Okay.
And we will run right now after this. The next item we will go through is actually the import export functionality and all that. So you can practice that as well. Okay. So between this one, is it clear to everybody that how you are
So
basically
are
sharing?
we, sorry, we're gonna check the manual way, like for one particular person. I know you showed for like for a group, the whole
Yeah. Now
marketing.
I'm going to show you that is the third one called manual sharing. So I haven't got there yet.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
But is it clear in terms of sharing rules? Because that's one specific topic, right? So this is sharing. So we go through organization-wide defaults. We go through role hierarchy. Now we actually finishing sharing rules. So that's what I'm asking, is everybody's clear about sharing rules? Again, that can be shared with a group of users. You can share it with the role. You can share it with role and subordinates. And then you can even have option where you can have a criteria that you can set all the, like what we did as an example, as a, we set up a criteria. And then when you say criteria, which records are we talking about? Because again, we did not select records by who. So what does that mean?
By the record.
Records by who?
Based on specific criteria, right? Like,
Yeah, that's true. But records by who? Who will be the owner?
Owner.
Owner.
No, no, who will be?
whatever records fall in that category. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So let's say you have 10 people and you have 100,000 records. If you put a criteria, you're saying from all the records, this is the criteria, and just show them to this person or this group of people. right? Either you can choose who is the owner of the records, which is role or a group or a role in that. Or if you say, okay, all the records in my database based on this criteria share with this person. That's where you use the sharing rules. Make sense? I mean, sorry, that's where you use the like you use the sharing rules, but you use the option for
Sure.
criteria rather than the actual user, because there are two options. Either I want you to share all the records by sales guy number one to rest of the team, or I can say that share all the records with the team which comes under as a residential. So these are two different type of requests. One request from particular set of people, all the records they have, share it to another set of people or one person, or share records, all the records based on this particular criteria to this one person or group of people or different role, whatever that is. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, very good. I'm not hearing anything from ladies actually. Very quiet. What's going on? Are you guys good?
Yes.
Let's participate a little bit. You know, it will be good. So more the participant, more will be the interaction. All right. So now let's quickly go back and check out the third option, which is manual sharing. Okay, so what is manual sharing? So manual sharing, as the name suggests, that if you want to individual share an individual record to a person, then you can use the uh, third option, which is let me share my screen first. Okay, so the third option is, for example, let's say I have house one. So let me check. Is that house was shared before or not? Let me see. My view. So I think we shared the residential house. So commercial one we did not share. Remember, like commercial one was not shared before. So let's say I just want to share this particular record, this one particular record to another person, which is our test user. So unfortunately, that feature is not available in the Lightning. So you need to switch back to Salesforce Classic. So let's go back to Salesforce Classic. I know there's a ticket open, but it's not been done yet. They probably do it in in coming few releases or whatever. But yeah, not all the features are available in the Lightning, but they are moving it as we go. So first thing first is you can go to that particular object. So the object was Z properties. You can go to that what was that, house 2, I guess. House 2 is commercial, right? Let's say this commercial property I want to share with the user. So sorry, I have these guys already there, so let me remove them. So let's say this record I want to share it with the other user who is a test user. Very simple. They used to have a button over here called sharing. You can click the sharing, and here they said, okay, this one is obviously the owner of the record, but I want to add one more owner. So here I can have either groups, roles and sub, or users. So I go to users, the test user, I add it in the list, I said save, and boom, the another user have access to this record. Now I can share you this record name house 2, and it's a commercial house.
But it's a read-only access, right?
Yeah, you can choose it whatever access. Remember, there was a drop down. Sorry, I think I moved too quick, but yes, you have same thing, same three options that you can do that. But here first, let's check what happens. So here now I can see one more record which is commercial. This, which one was that?
How
House
to?
2. House 2, which is from this user, commercial, and this is now shared, right? This is one record shared with one other user, very specific, right? And if I go back, I'm just looking at the record. I choose read only. Yes. So there was a drop down, same drop down. If you want to see, I can share as well. So that's called here I am. So if you guys can see my screen, so I can edit this. This is the test user I had, edit. So you have three types of access, same thing either, I mean, two types of access, read or read write. So I can choose read or read write, and then I can even change it later on if I want to. So based on whoever is the owner, they can do this thing with their own records. So this is a simple, the only trick with that is this is not available in the Lightning. So you have to switch to Classic. And then there's this sharing button on top. You can just choose this, click it, go to either groups, roles, or users, select the guy. And again, you can share this one record with multiple users as well, right? Same thing. You can share with a role, or role and subordinates, or users, multiple users, or groups, whatever. So you can share it with one person or multiple people as well. And you can take the access back as well. So for example, you just give it for 1 week. After 1 week, you can go back and delete it, so the access will be gone.
Okay, Ali.
I'm sorry?
Um, please, if it's read only, how do you add associated records to it? Because it's read only, and I think you can alter anything.
Read only means you can just open up and read the value. You can read what this record has, but that's it. You cannot add it and you cannot make any changes.
So why does it say you can add associated records? What are the associated records it's talking about?
Where does it say associated record?
Yeah,
Nah,
explanation.
yeah, it says under the notes, it says read only. I understand you can only read it, but I don't get it when it says you can add associated record, because you can just read and you can do anything. It's fine.
Where is that?
Eunice.
Yeah, if you can see the explanation of access levels, third line.
Yeah.
Third line.
User can view the record and add associated records to it. They
Yeah.
cannot edit the record or add notes or attachments.
Okay.
So they cannot edit it, right?
Yeah, they can not edit and record or add any notes. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you still have a question or you are clear?
I'm okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so we are good with all the sharing rules. Okay, so let's get back to where we are. So basically what we did, it's one, so we have another two and okay, so we have enough time. Very good. Okay, so basically what we did so far is we understand the organization-wide default. Just a quick recap. So organization-wide, normally, if let's say you are working in an environment where you don't want your team to view each other records, then you can make it private. What it means is everybody can see their own records. But if you are a manager and if you have turned on the hierarchy, then manager can see the records of their own, but also see the records of their subordinates. So hopefully that is clear. Now, based on that setup, there is a scenario that you want to share records with some of the selected team members or a group of members. Then I showed you can use sharing rules because you want to share a set of records with set of people. So you can create a sharing rule. You can share it via a role, a group, role or subordinates, all role or subordinates. Or you can have another option that you want to share records based on a certain criteria, that all the records which has cost or price more than 100,000 or 500,000, share that with these set of groups or see these set of people. So you can create a group and then you can share with that group. Or if you have more than one criteria, you can add as many criteria. So not only residential, so the property type can be residential, the price can be this, the subtype can be house, and only share that records with this group of people. So you can have different tools to play around how do you want to share. Now, the last option that we look into is, for example, if you have just few records, you are working with your teammate and he said, okay, can you share that record with me so I can I can have that, I can reference it. So, and but you don't want to give him the edit access, so you can say, okay, I can share it. You can switch off to, you can switch off to Salesforce Classic. You click the button, you said, okay, read only, and you share that with a particular user. Again, you can share it with more than one users. And as a user, so this is the only part where you don't need to be admin, because this is owned by you. You can able to share your record. So you can share the record, and then when he's done, then you can take the access back. You can delete the access. In that way, that will still secure with you, because this is your record. Yeah, go ahead. There is a question. Is there a question? Okay. Are we clear on OWD? All
Yes.
right. If so, let's move on. So here is some practice things. Again, I think you guys will be 100% clear. So if the profile is CRED, meaning you have create access, read access, edit access, and delete access, and OWD is private, what will happen? So CRED on own records, that we discussed, that what will happen to your own records. You have full access. You can create, edit, delete, whatever, but you cannot see anybody else's record. So if me and Ali is working as a sales reps, and we have CRED access on our own profiles, for example, we both under the marketing profile, and we have OWD in our organization set up private by the admin, then I can see my own records. I can create my own records. I can delete my own records. I can edit my own records, but I cannot see any record from Ali. Right? Same thing with Ali. He can able to create his own records, delete his own record, read his own record, and edit his own records, but he cannot able to see my records. Okay. Another scenario, if you have CR, meaning you can create and read on your own profile, but OWD is private. Same thing. You can do CR with your own records, and if you want to add further, then there is no visibility to the other records. Okay. If you have CRED on profile, OWD on public read only, then obviously you can read all, but from uh, the CED will be on own records, because you can do everything. And then you can read all the records because it has read only. So all the records you can read, but you can only do create, edit, or delete with your own records. Does it make sense? Does this slide make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, because again, same thing, nothing changed. I mean, it's just the way how to represent it. All it is saying that you can do everything on your own records. You can read, create, like you can do whole create with own records, but you can also read everybody else's record. But the way it is representing here is, okay, you have R for everything and CED for your own record, but the same thing, you can also say this like CRED on own records plus read on everybody else's records, however you want to say it. It's just a way of representation. If you have profile NA, okay, now very interesting. If you have no access in your profile, but you have a public read only already turned on, can you still able to see everybody else's record? Nope. You don't even, because if you block from the profile level, then that's it. You don't have access to any record. Remember we talked about it. They gave you everybody's open inside the building, but they don't give you the main key for to getting into the building. I mean, if you don't able to get in the building, then forget about all the access inside it. All the doors are open, all the 5 doors are open, kitchen is open, living room is open, but actually the outside door is closed and you don't have access. You have zero access. So is it any good for you? Nothing. You have no access. Although inside everything is open. Well, useless for you because you cannot even enter into the building. You're done. Same thing, CRED, public read write. I think you get it.
So what's the no transfer? Like, what does it mean by that?
So transfer in some case, like you can transfer the records, like the ownership transfer. So that is like a more specific into more specific that can you transfer or not. But normally it's all about all the CRED, because transfer is normally not given to users anyways. normally is being driven by the admins.
Okay.
Yeah, this is kind of an extra information for this point, but basically if it is you can be able to transfer independently your own records to another, you cannot. Even though you have public read, write, you have credit, because who can transfer the actual records? Only the admins, right? Because this looks like the maximum access, right? You have 100% access from profile, you have 100% access from OWT. So what does it mean? Where are you limited? So you're not limited, you can do everything, but the only thing is you cannot transfer the ownership of a record.
Okay.
And who can do that? Admin can still do that. And same thing with the next one. Okay. Role hierarchy we studied. Then we have this role hierarchy. Then we have sharing rules and everything. So we are done with this thing. Let me open up the next. Okay. Okay, so interesting one. So next topic we have is data management. So how about taking a quick break and then we'll get back. So it's 1:17. So let's take a 7-minute break. That means 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, 8-minute break. So we can meet back at 1:25. All right, guys. So I'll mute the recording. So somebody should remind me about the recording. The recording. Perfect. Alrighty. So what's next? Okay. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So the next item is data management. And what it means by data management is we already talking about records. So the next related item for the data is how you can manage the data. So for example, you are working in an organization, they don't have Salesforce, they use different tool or Excel sheets or whatever, and then they create Salesforce, Salesforce is launched. One of the activities that is done by the end of the project or once the setup is complete is to import the data, okay? And on ongoing basis, maybe you need to make some mass changes. So for example, you have 100,000 records. Out of those 10,000 records, they belong to, for example, West Coast, and there's a consolidation happening. All the teams are coming under same thing, and you need to change a field in there. So how would you change, for example, 100,000 fields or 100,000 records, a field in 100,000 records, or a field in 500,000 records, or even 500 records, even like a small number, 500, 1,000, 10,000 records. Obviously, you cannot go and open record by record and make the change. So one thing is how you can make changes on an ongoing basis. If you want to do with the bulk records, again, you want to make changes for few records here and there, you can always edit and make the change. But let's say you want to change for a number of records, which is not feasible to do manually. So how you can do that? Or you are exporting the data, all the data that you need in some other tool, maybe not in Salesforce, somewhere else, or maybe you need to export the data just to keep a backup or whatever reason. So there are multiple reasons why you need to export the data. You can also need to update the data. You might also need to upload the data. So for example, your organization is working fine. You have a conference happens in Vegas, okay? And your sales teams goes there, they meet with there's a 3-day conference, and they come back and collected 500 new leads, okay? And they have all those leads in a piece of Excel that needs to be now imported back into Salesforce. Now, obviously, you can go ahead and manually create record by record, but that's obviously, it's not efficient. You don't want to spend X amount of hours to do it manually. Why you should, while you have a top of the line solution, right? So maybe you need to have an option where you can upload all that records in one shot, and we have. There are 2 different ways that you can do all of these things based upon the number of records, based upon what are you looking for. There are some limitations, but there are two different tools that we can use for data management. And again, this topic is kind of easy, so I will try to wrap it up hopefully next 10-15 minutes. And then we can move on to another topic, which is the end of the day topic, which is record types. And that is a little bit more technical in nature, probably need a little bit more understanding. So this one, data management, is kind of easy. I'll just show you all the processes. And again, after that, it is very easy and you can practice it and you should be good. Okay. So I will try to finish it in next 10-15 minutes max. And then the real topic comes up, which is record type, which is a little bit more complicated and require a little bit more brain power. So we have two different tools called Wizard, Data Import Wizard and Data Loader. So Data Import Wizard can be used by end users and admins, and the Data Loader is only used by admins. There is a limitation where you can use Data Import Wizard and where you should use Data Loader. So if the number of records that you're playing with is up to 50,000, then you can actually use Data Import Wizard if that is the case. But if you want to use higher records, anything higher than 50,000, then you use Data Loader. But Data Loader can also do less records as well. So I think it's not correct. It means that anything less 50,000 or less or more, both of them. But number of records maximum the Data Import Wizard can hold is 50,000. So let's say if you have 51,000 records, then you cannot use Data Import Wizard whatsoever. But let's say if you have 10 records, you can either use Data Import Wizard or you can use Data Loader. It's up to you. But let's check out some other things that might be maybe the determining factor. So catches duplicates. Duplicate meaning, let's say you have two same records and you are importing them. So if you import using the Data Import Wizard, then it can check and it can give you an error message right there in saying that, yeah, there is a duplicate. You can review the data, you can remove it and then re-upload it, and it can check and let you know. But in Data Loader, there is no such functionality. So it will just, if you have multiple duplicates, it will just upload everything. It's a bulk load basically. It's a bulk load. Thousands and thousands of records are uploading, so it cannot do that. But if you have a small number of records, up to 50,000, then it can do a duplicate check. And duplicate check is if you have two records, exact same two records, and if they are uploading, then they can be flagged by Data Import Wizard, but they cannot be flagged by Data Loader. Data Loader will just input everything, whatever you provide. Option to turn off workflow. So workflow is something that we haven't gone through, but workflows is something like, for example, if you create a new record, for example, and there is a workflow which is saying that send an automated email to the user. So for example, as soon as you create a new record for your customer, a lead, right away there will be an automated email sent out to the customer saying that welcome to our company or welcome to your account, thank you for there. So that is like an automated rule which you can use workflow for. So for example, if you are importing the data, and let's say if you're importing 20,000 records, and right as soon as the records are entering, that will start kicking off. So you don't want, for example, if you don't want, because they are by maybe records from the past or something else, and you don't want that like workflow to run, so you can stop right from the wizard. But if you're using Data Loader, you have to go into the settings and then change it. Like normally we go into admin panel and make the settings and change it and disable the workflow. But within the tool itself, in Data Loader, there is no option to turn off. If you actually import that, and if it is on, then it will start doing whatever it's supposed to do, yeah, by that thing. But in Data Import Wizard, there is an additional option that you can turn off the workflow. Export data. So you cannot use import, as the name suggests, Data Import Wizard. It's only for importing. You cannot, but Data Loader can do both import and export. That's why I said yes, but this one cannot export data. For some reason, there's opportunities because they are created, because some of the opportunities are created when you actually convert the records from from in the sales cycle. What will happen is when you convert a lead record into your what is that called, account, contact, and opportunity. Like when it convert into opportunity, for example, you have a lead, you talk to them and they said yes, we can work with you and we are giving you the thing, so you are converting them into opportunity. So because of that nature, because there's some relationship and it is creating some things on top of it, because when you convert a lead into opportunity, it will also create an account, lead, account, contact, and opportunity. So that's why the opportunity is not supported. It's a little complicated. It's not supported in Wizard, but because a data loader is can able to take bulk of the data, then this functionality is supported in that. So just few high level items that first of all, you cannot export the data from Wizard. So you always use loader. So, and again, you can use both of them and see if you are working with a small number of sets, whatever is easier for you, you can use it. They both work the similar way once you understand it, and then it's up to you, whatever is better. So let's start with the data loader first, and then we go back to the import wizard, because data loader can allow you to export the data. So we'll export the data first and use the exported file to do rest of the operations. So you can have a better understanding. So let's jump into our application. Let me log back in as admin on this machine. Okay, so here is just to make sure I am admin as a, I'm logging as an admin, I am, which is good. Let's go ahead and, okay, let's go ahead and look for data, is it data loader? Data loader, okay. Data loader. So data loader is actually like an extension or like a utility outside the Salesforce. So what it says, data loader is a client app for the bulk import and export of data. Install the Open JDK 11 before installing the data loader. So it's basically like a separate client app that you need to install with data in common separated CSV file is your input. Data loader can create, edit, delete Salesforce records at any standard or custom object. Data loader exports Salesforce record into CSV file. You can then edit those CSV files or use them as a template for importing into the Salesforce. So typically what you do, so let's first talk about the how you can have the data loader. So first of all, let's say if you have a Windows, I have a Mac, but let's say if you have a Windows, so first you need to go to the installation instructions. You click on this one. It will allow you to install something which is like a JavaScript. Then you can go to here, install Zulu Open JDK version 11 for Windows using .msi file. So if you go to Windows, it will ask you which operating system you have. So for example, you have, so it recommend you to use Java version 11. So you can use Java 11 system. Which system does it say? Install Zulu Open GDK. Like Windows GDK. So this one comes up. So this one you can 11 certificate, and this one, so you can download this zip file, install this zip file, and it will it will download first. Double click it, open it up, and then you can able to you can able to install this, right? Like regular installation as you did. So once you are done with the installation, then you can go back to, so that you need to do first. So you need to download this JavaScript, which needed to be installed first. And then you can say, okay, download the data loader for Windows, or if you have downloaded from, so both of them, you have to install this Java thing first. And then you can go to the Mac one, or you can go to the Windows one, whatever you have. And then it will first download the file, double click it, install it, and basically you can able to have it. Then once you install it, you will have something. So it will ask you, where do you want to install, where the shortcut is. So I save the shortcut at my desktop. So this will be look something like this: data loader 48.0.0. And if I double click it, it will run something like this. And then that's where you need the JavaScript. And this is how it will look like. So it will use the same credentials as admin, as you know that this is only for admin. So you can use the same credentials as your admin. Any questions so far? All right, very good. So let's start with the first step is let's export everything. So what is the difference between export and export all? So in my notes, I actually put all of those things there. So if you just read out the notes, it will be clear, but I can just give you some important ones. So export all means that all data, including data in your recycle bin, soft deleted records, so everything. So not just the record which are there, but even the records which are deleted, but they are still in your recycle bin, and also something which is deleted softly, which is not permanently deleted yet. So that is export all. But let's say we want to work with the export only for now. So we can click on the export. And again, we can use OAuth, and we can use production for now. We can log in, and you can use the same credential as you have. So I can use the same user ID password that I use for my org, and it will ask you to allow the access. Any question?
Yeah, this is the admin account, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be an admin to export and import.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you can say, and even on my presentation, if you remember, I showed them this is admin only.
Okay.
Yeah, so good question. Going back here, I can allow that. And once you do that, then it will kind of a connecting at the back end. And then here, this is your interface. So we are good, we are logged in. We click next. So here is a list of all the objects. The way it export is also export object by object, okay? So let's say I want to export everything from Ali property info, okay? Or I want to export everything from, let's say, Z property, okay?
Can you do multiple selections, or is it just one?
Uh, I think you can only do one. I don't remember doing it multiple. No, I think you can do one by one. You have to do one by one, I guess. I think there are some other ways like developers can actually create some quick queries and something they can do, but I don't remember that how we do it multiple, but I can check on that. But I mean, right now I forgot how we can do multiple, like they can write some queries that they can go back and run it, but from the interface, I don't see an option to export multiple at the same time.
Okay.
But there should be some way you can do that. Even if this is not like you can write a like a piece of code that it can go there, do the settings, and then can rerun or something like that. So you can create like a small utility of your own, which I know one of my clients, they have done it. So they create their own utility and they use this as a backup function, and they can just store everything, just go one by one and export everything. And there are some other ways you can do that, but this can be also done. But I can check. I don't remember you can do more than one, but I could be wrong. Let me
Okay.
try some other. Yeah, no. Right now it won't allow me more than one. Here is the location. Where do you want to choose a target for extraction? Where do you want to save it? I can choose one of the folders in here. I can call it Z extract. Yeah, Z extract. And let's go to the next one. So here it is asking you choose the query fields below. So which fields do you want to choose? And again, you know that there are multiple fields which are beyond what you create. There are like 4 fields, 4 extra fields which are created always, which you sometimes see it, sometimes don't see it, like modified by, created date and things like that. So let's just select everything, right? And here, for example, if you want to export on some particular condition, right? So you said, okay, I'm just exporting data for um, property type equal to commercial, right? So whatever, same thing, like you can have multiple conditions. You can add many conditions as you want, and you can clear them up as well. Okay, so let's go back and then here. So you can choose different conditions. Right now I select everything, and then I can say, go ahead and finish this. It will tell you you are choosing to perform an export. Click yes to begin. Do you wish to proceed? Yes. And it says the operation has fully completed. There are 6 successful extractions and 0 errors. Okay. So let's get back into our folder at desktop, data management, Z extract. And if we open this up, then this is our export. So this is normally how it is exported. Um, these are our fields. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Okay, you export the data. Now very quickly what I can do is I can use this extract and perform one more functionality, because you need this one, because you need the names of the fields and things like that. So that is already we have. Otherwise you have to know all the fields. So let me show you what it means. So for example, now if I say that, okay, I want to use a delete function. Okay, and you remember we have 6 records. So before that I can show you the records what we have, so you can remember what are we exactly doing. So let's say if I go back to the property, I go back here, I check all, I have 6 properties. Okay, out of 6 properties I want to delete 3 properties. Okay, again without opening up anything, because 3 could be 300, 3 could be 3000, 3 could be 300,000, right? So I don't want to use like go one and then, because I can do this too also, right? I can go here, delete, delete, delete. So 3 I can do that, not too bad. But if it is 300, then yes, it's gonna be bad. And if it is 300,000, then probably I cannot even do. So let's use this tool to do that. So first thing first is I can export everything. So that's what I already did. So let me just make a new copy from here so I can keep all my records intact. I make a copy. I'm sorry. And I make a copy and I rename it to Z delete. So I create another copy, call it Z delete, open it up, and I have total 6 records. The first one is the header. So I can just randomly select 3 records. I mean, you can select exactly records what you need to delete, but just for an example, I delete 3 records and I have 3 records. So these 3 records I want to delete. So basically you have total 6 records. I want to delete 3 records, and obviously you can choose it, but right now we are doing as a test. So I delete 3 of them, and let's go ahead back to our data loader. We want to do delete. We want to do with Ali property object. We want to import the file, what we need to delete, these objects, these records that we need to delete. So we pick up the file, we go next. So it will give you how many records. So it says your operation will contain 3 records. Good, so far so good. Then there is something called mapping. So why do we need mapping? Because the file that you are providing, for example, that file do not have exactly the same names. So how do I know which field is what? So there is some option called choose an existing mapping or create a or edit a map. So let's do a new. So here in this case, we just need to identify based on the ID, because the deletion process only need the key identifier. So here ID is enough. I can either click this button auto match. So it is actually auto matching with ID. If you don't want to do that, you can also just pick it up and you can manually drag it wherever you want. So let's say this is right thing, so you can delete in terms of ID. So wherever that ID is, you can drop it, because when you're deleting, it do not check anything yet. There's a particular ID called Salesforce ID, and I will show you that ID as well, but this will just match the ID and delete all the IDs which you have listed down in your exported file. So that's the main key. So even you can use a file which only have one field called ID, and that's it. You don't need everything else. But I mean, why should I even do extra work? I just export it and I can just select the records that I want and I can do that. But if you want, you can just export the IDs and you can delete via ID.
So each record has a unique ID.
Each record has a unique ID, absolutely. Each record has a unique ID, and I'll show you. It's a very long. I think it's a 16-digit number or something, but I'll show you. And that actually, I mean, if I'm not wrong, that is unique across Salesforce system. So on their cloud, it is unique, not just unique in your organization. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So for example, if they have 3 billion records or 10 billion records, or I don't know, I mean, they have millions and millions of they have a couple of millions of clients, right? Or not millions, if hundreds and thousands of clients, right? So hundreds of thousands of clients can have millions or billions of records, right? So I think that that is unique within the database itself, because everything is going back into the cloud, right? So if that is actually mixing up somewhere or something, I don't know, but I believe it's unique across the cloud. But anyways, I don't know that for sure. All right, so here the ID is here. So for deletion, we only need the ID part, and then we said next. Where do you want to save the error messages? If there is any error success messages, I can keep it on my desktop. And I said finish. It says you have chosen to delete existing records. Click yes to begin, whatever, that's fine. The number of records allowed in your recycle bin is limited. So again, when you delete a lot of records, your recycle bin is limited. So you cannot just delete like a millions of record in one shot. Based on how big of a recycle bin you have, you can delete that. And that recycle bin is not your computer recycle bin. I think that's your Salesforce recycle bin. So based on that, you can delete it. But again, we are doing some small number, doesn't matter. We are talking about like hundreds and thousands of records, then only you have to worry about, not even hundreds of records, or not even thousands of records. And it becomes hundreds and thousands of records. I mean, in our case, maybe it's a problem because we only have a dev version. Dev version can only support limited number. But when you work in an environment, that's not a big deal. So it will give you, so here, for example, if you have issue, it will tell you right here. So the operation has fully completed. There are 3 successful deletes and 0 errors. So that's fine. Let's go back and check in our data, all, and then here you go. 3 records are deleted. Simple. Okay. Now, if we want to go back and add these back, we can use one more functionality and then we can move on. So the same file that we have delete, let's say I want to add them back. But when I'm adding them back, I don't need to have all of these because some of these are system generated items, right? And if I try to play around with that, so this is the ID. This is the record ID. So I don't need that. So we just need the fields which are user is providing. So asking provide, user is providing, cell number, user is providing, created by ID, created date, ID, this, last modified, max C. What is this max C? I don't know. That's something for us. Minimum offer. No, so this name, property. So whatever fields you are actually manually providing, you highlight them and just delete everything else. If I miss some field, that's fine. It's just a test. But whatever you need, like whatever the normally you input the fields, you just keep them and just delete everything else because there's a lot of system generated stuff. So we just delete everything. We keep the information that we need. So we just need price, cell number, name, property, type, and subtype. Okay, I just save that. The file name is still delete, but that's okay. We just use that for input. So I go back here quickly. I'm running out of time. So insert, I said this object, I browse the file, I am selecting the delete again. I said next. There are 3 records, which is fine. Now this time I need to do a little bit more detail mapping. So same thing, address is basically mapping from the file and this is the column. So mapping will, what is that? Address will go in front of, where is address? Property type, asking price. So address is not here. I do not maybe select it. So name is there, name in front of name. Owner ID is not there, price is there, so price in front of price, property subtype, and then what is left? Property type. This is record type, or property type, owner ID, address. So I think these 3 fields I don't have it, which should be okay. Let's go there. I mean, again, I'm just doing a quickly. So, but usually you should have everything. So sales, like cell number, name, property type, you should have everything. And then let's go ahead and do that. Finish the new records. Yes. Let's see if it is pass or fail. Okay. Look good. Lucky. Pass. Let's see if it inputs here. No, it does not input. Why? Does it say fail? I don't know. Z property. Let's try again quickly. So insert. Oh, I actually input in Ali property. Of course, it's not gonna happen. So I go to Z property, import the file. Next, prerequisites. Edit the mapping, match automatic. So just double check asking price, sell number, name, property subtype. Okay, mapping looks good. So there is a button called auto match because we are importing from the same thing, so they already know. But if you have a file where you are giving the name, then you need to map the mapping like anything else. It's just a mapping. You map it. Next, desktop. That's fine. Finish it. And 3 successful, 0 errors.
You also need to, if you need to, I mean, add or delete a field in an object, is it also done in the mapping phase?
No, mapping means the file. Mapping means this file that you have. So for example, this is my own file, right? Let's say I'm trying to input some objects, and
Yeah.
this is done by the people who are in the sales, right? So for example, they don't know what you call the fields because these field names are actually within the Salesforce, right? So what they will call this, they might call it property, right? They will not call it property underscore C underscore like this, right?
Okay.
So this name, sorry, this name is actually Salesforce name. I'll just copying it over here. But your team who is in the market, what they call it, they will call it maybe subtype, right?
I
So
get
you
it.
need to map this subtype, meaning this subtype in Salesforce. What is the field name in your Excel file and what is the field name in Salesforce? That is called mapping.
Okay. So,
Mhm.
okay, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, and the only reason why we are exporting first so that we don't need to worry about it, right?
Yeah.
Because we are exporting the same names that are in Salesforce. That's why we can just use the auto matching, and then it's just the same name, so it just auto match. But obviously, for the all the real reasons, these names in your external file could be just a generic names, right? And then,
Yeah.
for example, here it will be cell number, but you need to map this cell number. This is the Salesforce name, but when you collect, you don't like your team doesn't know, right? They will
Yeah.
just say, okay, cell number, right? So you need to make sure that this cell number is mapped like this. So if they are mapping, then that's good.
Okay.
In our case, because we are using the same file, obviously it's gonna be same. Okay. All right. So this is how you can try all of these things. Upsert meaning if you want to add and add it at the same time. So for example, if you have this record in there, and for this record, you want to change the asking price from 200 to let's say 400, and you also want to add 5 new records. So you can do both of them. So you can create a new file where you can change the value of this one, and then you have like 5 new records, everything in one file, and use this function upsert. Upsert meaning update plus update plus insert. So insert plus update is upsert. Simple as that. Just think about this. Insert plus update is upsert. So insert is only when you are trying to insert a new. Update is you want to just update the existing ones. But if you want to do both of them together, you have upsert. That's it. And delete is obviously the delete.
Okay. And if we need to add or delete a field from an object, like for 100,000 records, is it done through update?
You
Or,
want to delete a field, even yes, you can. Let's say if you want to empty a field or rename, like for example, if there is a field like this field, right? So we have a record. So for example, this field, you want to change all of these from residential to commercial.
yes.
You just change this to residential to commercial. You have like, even you can just have record ID and this, and then you can update. You just need to use update this one, and then you can do all the process, and then it will update this residential to commercial.
Okay. So what about if we have a case like we need to get rid of a particular field for all the records?
Same thing, you can just in your Excel file just make it empty, and it will be, that's it, and import the file, they will become empty.
Okay, but the field will still be there in the records, like,
Yes sir.
I mean,
Yes, if you need to delete the field, then you have to go to the admin panel, you have to go to the object, and then you can delete the field.
all right.
This is, I mean, you have to understand what are you doing, right? So right now we are only talking about the data. So data only starts from line number 2.
Yeah.
So if you want to do something with the line number 1, which is the actual fields, then you need to go back to where that belongs. You cannot just do everything from one location. There's a different locations for everything, right? So if you want to, let's say, delete the name or change the name of the field, for example, say, oh, can I change the name of the field? Yes, you can, but not from here. You need to go back to your object definition and you can change it. That's fine. You can delete a field, you can delete all the fields, but where? Yes, you can go to your object, you can go to the object manager, and you can do from there. All right, cool. So I'm just gonna very quickly skip rest of items for you guys. You can practice it, and very quickly I can show you the other option, which is called
Karan, I have a quick question.
sure.
Yeah, the first slide you mentioned, like you were comparing wizard and can you bring that slide quick?
Mhm.
So I was saying like it has a limit like 50,000 records. So I'm asking like can you use a tricks like if you break up records, if you have a like 2,000, 200,000 records, and if you break in 4 pieces like 50,000 each and import
Yeah,
using
you
this
can do
wizard,
that. Yeah, you can do that.
things like that. We can manipulate stuff.
Yeah, you can do that. But I mean, it's just so easy to do in data loader. When you see it, there's no difference actually. So you will feel like that's easier. But for example, if you want to use like a duplicate functionality, right, or
Right,
something
that's
like that,
there's some built-in functions.
then yes,
Yeah.
you can. Obviously, all of these things have limitation, but you can have an innovative way to you can bypass them by some innovative ways, or dividing them into smaller numbers. So you can do 45,000 each time, and you can do in 4 shots. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. But you cannot just do in 1 shot. That's the only thing. But yes, you
Yeah.
can do it in 4 different steps. Yes, absolutely you can do that. Because let's say it's a good question, because as you said, maybe I want to use this. I want to check duplicates. Then yes, I can just remove the records and I can do it in 4 different batches. That's fine.
Okay. And the current example you show, like, we use the data loader, right? We install the data loader first and we manipulate all the data.
Mhm.
So you don't show the wizard thing?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
So you can just do the data import wizard, and it's actually, you don't need to install anything. Nothing is just built in. So all you need to do is launch the wizard, and it will launch like this. So this is like a built-in, so you don't need to install anything, nothing. So here you go, custom objects, and for example, we have this delete. So in that we can, sorry, where was the z delete? Is it the z delete? Yes, no. Z extract, sorry, Z extract, and no, which one was that? Yeah. So here I can delete that, and maybe I can just delete everything, just leave one here, and then this one, for example, we want to call house wizard insert or something like that. Just use an example. This is called Z delete, but we can just use that example here. So all you need to do is just to select the custom object, whatever your custom object was, Z delete, Z properties, you select that. You said you're adding a new record, you can do existing record, same thing, same three options. Let's say we want to add a new record, and you can do match by name. We have a name there. Here you is saying that which user field in your file designate the record owner. So here you can have something else like an ID or email address or something. Right now we just use name as example. In here you don't want to designate a record owners, but whoever is there you can use it. And then here you can import the file. So choose the file. um, it's a pretty much identical process. I think it was yes, yeah. And next, so remember, over there we also need to do mapping. Is just a different format. So for example, this is unmapped. So the first field is asking price, so you can map it. Asking price is asking price. You can just select this, click this green button, which is like at the very bottom. Cell number, cell number is cell number. This button is right here, just click it. Z property name is name, which is correct. Property sub is right here. Select it. So mapping, obviously you have to do, unless you are only deleting, that's where you only need one. But so here is, what is this property? I think this is property type. I'm just selecting something, even if it is not correct, but I'm just selecting, doing a quick mapping. So you do the right mapping, and then you said, okay, next. It says 5 fields are mapped, and then import. Your import has started. Okay. And here you go. This record is just, I just added one record. So this record is already added. And remember, this record name was, it should be somewhere. Right. Or we can just go to the record itself and see.
It's house A, right?
Yeah, house A. Where was it? This one. Okay. And what was, I think I named it something else. But anyways, I mean, it's like a straightforward, so I'm not gonna into what goes wrong, but simple is like, this is very simple. You go to data import wizard. The process straightforward. You don't need to install anything. You can launch the wizard. First thing first, you need to select your object, whatever your object you selected. What you need to do, there are 3 options. You can add a new record, you can update existing record, or you can add new and update existing. This is absurd. So you can do these things. Why you don't have a delete? Because again, this is not doing the export or anything, so it doesn't allow you to delete the records. Again, if you need to delete, you have to go to the data loader. Or if you need to export the data, you also need to go to data loader. And in this option, you can select what you need to do. Let's say you need to update the existing. You can select the CSV file. You can choose it from your records. This is a CSV file, so comma separated, next. Here you can do mapping, next, and then should able to import it. Right? So whatever fields are there, you need to have main fields that you normally import. Only select those fields, and then you can import it, and it should be good to go. All right. So hopefully this should be quick. So I think we spend more time than I was anticipating, but hopefully I can try to cover the next item. So this is all about data management. You can import, export. There are 2 tools. Again, you can go through it. You just need a little practice. And whatever you want to do, you can do it. You can insert, upsert. You can update, delete. You can export, and you can use the other options are there. There's something called scheduling. This is also very straightforward. You can just go and you can export now. Oh yeah, so I think somebody has asked it. So if you go to data management, data export, you can export bulk data using that. So okay, that's good. I kind of recall, but again, it doesn't allow you to make changes. This is only for export. So only for export, if you want to do, you can go to data management, data export, and then it will allow you to export it right off there. Everything will be exported, so data export, if you go there, so it will allow you to export everything, like all the objects. So all the objects are there. You can select as many objects as you want. With a single click, you can export it. Or you can even, you can schedule the export that, okay, every month on Monday or blah, 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 whatever date you want, you can export it, how many objects. So let's say you want to export every Friday night and export everything. You have hundreds and thousands of records. It will take a couple of hours. Everything will be exported, stored in a location. You can download the file, store it, and you're good to go. Okay. So I'm not going to go into the details. So let's quickly jump into record types. So what is record type? And I think I can able to cover it. Probably need maybe five extra minutes, hopefully, but I can hopefully able to cover it. So record type. So if you remember, let's go back to our Z properties, right? So if I create a new record, I have something called dependencies, right? So if I select commercial, if you remember who have done that, we have total 6 options, 3 for commercial and 3 for residential, right? If I select that, I can get based upon, if I select commercial, I can get office, shop, and warehouse. If I select residential, then I can see house, apartment, and condo. So which is good, right? So we can have like a different dependencies. Now I have a requirement where if I have a manager he can able to see uh, commercial, and if I have salespeople, they can only able to only able to work on residential. Okay, and also along with that, in commercial, I mean, obviously this is the same object, right? In commercial, from the object I need all the fields, but in residential I need uh, two less fields, right? So basically there are difference in the page layout also, right? So this is obviously, you know, that in the page layout we set it up, right? So layout. Okay, so this is your page layout. So basically I'm saying that page layout will be different as well. So and again, these two people have different profiles as well, right? And this is something called, so right now, do you understand the requirement? So the requirement is, if I, as a manager, if I go to this Z properties and I want to create a new record, I should only see commercial option, okay? And I will able to see all the fields. But if, for example, I'm logging in as another user, which is a sales user, and they click it, they only see residential option and maybe two less fields, right? And both of them have a separate profiles. Um, do you think we can do based on current situation? Like we have this proto property type, but we cannot have a control based on a, if we can show a different page layout for each type, or we don't have a control that, you know, we can allow use a different page layout. So we cannot do that based on this dependencies, because this will be same and you can use it in both profiles, but you cannot remove, like you cannot manage the whole thing. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So for that, there is another concept called record types. So this is called record type. The reason why I pick up the example is because to relate what is the difference, right? So there is a difference between the record type. So record type will allow you to assign a separate page layout, and also you can match for separate profiles. Okay, so for example, we can create two separate record types. One is residential, one is commercial. We can take commercial and we can use manager profile, and we can use one particular page layout. So instead of all, I can call this page layout 1. Okay, and which has, for example, 10 fields, right? Then instead of 10, I can say all, I can say 10 fields, right? So remember that the object will have all the fields, right? So the main object have all the fields, but in this particular page layout, I'm selecting all the fields. In the second one, I'm selecting 8 fields. And this is, I can create another page layout. So this is called page layout 2, right? Or I can even call this page layout as, just to make it even easier, is residential. And this page layout, I can call this commercial. How do I, so first thing you need to learn how we can get the profiles. I assume everybody knows that how to create a profile. So first step is, in this process, you need to create profiles. So how many profiles do we need? We need 2 profiles. So I can go ahead and create 2 profiles. And in this case, obviously we are saying admin, but for example, we want to create one for manager and one for sales guy, right? Let's say just there are 2 people, right? Manager and for sales guy. So I create 2 profiles. Second step is I need to create 2 page layouts. From where you can create layouts, pardon my spellings, where do you create page layouts? You can go to you can go to the object. Let's say we are working with the Z property, for example. we can go to the property page. There is a page layout in there, and then you can create as many page layouts you want. So you can create new, you can call it page layout name is, we said residential, or let me see if there is a clone option, the property layout. So there's a clone option also. So just to make it easy, I can make a clone. So I can say save as, and I will call this as residential. So the main idea is you can create from the scratch. So just to save time, I'm creating a new one. And here, for example, in residential, if you remember, we need to hide two fields. So whatever I want, so for example, I don't want to show the property type and subtype, I can remove that and save this page layout as this one, right? Or if I want, I can add it, right? So so this is one page layout. Same thing, I can, from the main page layout, I can create another copy, save as, and I can call this as commercial, right? And for example, here I need everything. So I got two new page layouts. So this is a location where you can create your page layouts. What happened? Okay, this is the page. Does it save? Commercial. I think they're there. So let's cancel. Okay, so we got two new page layouts, commercial and residential. Okay, so far so good. And again, I did not select all the fields and everything, but you know that already. You can add fields, remove fields, make it, maybe make it compulsory, whatever you want to do. But the idea is the commercial has a different set of fields, residential has different set, but overall everything should be in the field. So object has total number of fields, for example, 10, and in one you can select all, in other you have 8, and you can do whatever you want to play around with, you have that. Now we need to create something called record type. So how many record type do we need to create? If we go back to our cheat sheet, now we need to create, the third step is we need to create a record types. Okay, so now we go ahead and create record types. So here we're gonna call the first one as same thing, commercial, right? Name is here, and then active. But remember, we don't want to enable for everything. Who do we want to enable for this one? In our case, it is um, system administrator is the one profile. So let's just call that manager is a system profile who need a commercial access. So I allow this person to have this profile. And then what page layout do we need to select? The second thing is for the page layout, right? So here we say select page layout, which one? Commercial. And to so here we can select each profile. Select all the profiles.
But no, you should have. I mean, it says commercial, so it's gonna assign this commercial to all of the profiles.
Yeah, but here I only assign it to. So this
It's make default is checked.
yeah. So this is basically this page is basically this record type is only assigned to this profile, but this page can be available for all of them, which is fine. But it won't become a default page layout. So what we need is commercial page layout, and we can use the system administrator that we need. So that's fine, right? In other case, if we want to choose different, we can choose different as well. So for example, if he says rest of them just need a residential page, you can choose them, and then based on that they can be available. Because right now we have all these profiles. You have a, once you are working, you can have a very dedicated profiles as well. But here our main thing is for system administrator, it has to be commercial, which is commercial. Okay, and then we say save and new, because we need to create one for residential as well. So we can create another one, residential. Okay, and then here make it active. Here also we need for which profile? We need for test user. test user profile. Next,
Are
page layout.
we changing the master? Are we not changing the master on this?
Master is just like a is like, let me go back. So that is just like which like for example the other one is already created, right? So this one is master for the second option, so you don't need to use the previous one again, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And then we choose this one. Next one is over here, and page layout we want to use residential, and this residential should be for um, test user, and save that. Okay. So now property, so now this is, so now if you go back to record type, so now you created two new record types. Okay. Is everybody clear so far? All we did is just go to record types, create new, and we select the profile and we select the page layout. Simple as that, right? Now, if we go to, for example, residential first, and so it will actually give you the option of the any pick list fields which are available. So what we need to do with the pick list first, for example, for the type, so that actually type I need to remove, it's already there, but think about it, we don't need that anymore because of the type we are doing it, but I was doing it in a hurry, so I forgot to delete it. So we don't need this anyways, but anyways for now we can select that for we choose this which one record type we are working, so residential. So property type, for now we can just select the residential, remove this, so residential is selected. And for subtype, this is for residential. So we can remove office, shop, and warehouse. We keep the ones which are for which are for residential. Save it. Same thing we can go back and do with commercial. The type will be commercial. Remove the residential. Save it. And then subtype. We can remove the house, apartment and condo, office, shop, and warehouse is there, and save it. Okay. So far everybody's clear what we did. We create two record types. Before that we create profile, we create page layout and associate them with these two. Each of this record type, whatever pick list that you have in that particular object, they will all come up automatically. So this come up automatically, and based on this particular record type, I select the options. Now let's see what happens when you create a new record. So I can provide the name and everything, but here see, only option which is coming up is commercial, right? And also it is also, if I select the commercial, it will give us the option for these three options, right? However, I can, if I remove that, then also I can see everything, whatever I need, because this one is kind of redundant right now, but I mean, you can, when you are practicing, you can delete the property type at all before starting that. And then you only have subtype. And then if I assign both of them, for example, let's say now your requirement changes and you need for both of them, then you can assign both of them, both of the, um, let me go back. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say if we go to record type, we go to, so commercial was for their residential, for, let's change the residential. Where do I change that? The assignments. Okay, so for my profile, system administrator, Okay, now I'm not sure what I'm trying to do, but um, so, okay, so I don't know if I can change it because I already assigned the user, but you can actually, when you're creating, if you can assign both of the record types for both of the profiles and use the separate pages or same page, and you can assign it, then you can able to see both of the drop down options as well. So I can show you, I think I created another sample, a different type of sample in this one. Let's see if it is still there. So I just wanted to show another way how you can view that. Yes, is that the one? No. Um,
So, Khurram, basically, based on the user, the page layout and options will be
yeah,
different.
basically what it is you can assign page layout and option will be different for the same user. Also, you can have two different record types. So what will happen is I can show you graphically. So for example, for the same user, you can do something like you have commercial. So right now what I try to do is I separate them that only one person can see either commercial or residential, right? But you can also do something like that. This is one user and you can have commercial and residential option. So that will be come up as a selection first. And based on that, it has a different page layouts. So this can have page layout 1 and this can have page layout 2, right? So you can also use in a way. So for example, right now, let's say in our example, the request was two separate people can only see one type of record type, right? But let's say your requirement is that each person can see all both are record types, but each record type when they select this page layout will look different, has different type of fields, like maybe five fields, and this has remaining five fields, or they have an overlap, because overall the total fields will remain the common. So they will be they can be any fields out of 5 out of 10 fields that you total have for that object, and here you can have, for example, 8 out of 10 fields that you have overall. So whatever number of fields that you have, you can choose. So either you can use record type in this way that you can have different records and different page layouts are coming up, or you can even assign, the other option is each user has only one option, like this is one record type option 1. So and then the other one has a record type 2. So it's up to your use, how do you want to use it, but it can be used in different way. And the main thing is that record type will allow you to choose a separate profile and separate page layout, and then you can use it accordingly. The other option that initially we learned, which is called dependencies, is only give you an option within the same page layout and in the same profile. But if you want to change that and you want to create, so for example, you want to have different fields in a diamond category, silver category, and bronze category, then you can do that. Or if you want to have, maybe there is a field called discount, and that field is only available for manager, so you can create a separate page layout which has that discount field, and create a separate record type and then assign that to manager. But rest of the team can have all of the rest of the fields, but they don't have that discount. So if anybody they have a discount, they need to go to the managers, and they will only deal with the discounted tickets or something like that. So does it make sense? Okay, so I think we are already few minutes over, but and I think I kind of hurry up a little bit on this one. So what I can do is on the next session I can create some more examples upfront and share it with you guys. And if you have any question, make sure you practice. And if you have any question, let me know. But this is also kind of a, as I said, main thing is the understanding. So if you understand that why do you need record type and how many different ways you can use it, then it should be good. And then you can do different type of practice of how you can do that. Make sure you can create separate objects to practice this, because sometimes it's not easy to delete the record types because they go back and basically it's not easy to delete. If you want to learn how to delete that, then you can also kind of a Google out because there's a particular steps that you need in order to delete it, but because they become like interdependent. So it's not straightforward just to delete them. So whenever you are doing it, maybe make sure you can create a separate app and few fields and then practice on that first. And then if you don't like it, then you can do that. So I don't want you to, if you have already a very established app and all the fields and everything, I don't want you to mess that up right away. But let's practice something else. Like you can create a separate object with like few fields and maybe two, and then you can try it on that. And then once you feel comfortable, then the app that you are working, then you can actually create record types on that particular app. All right, guys. Any question?
Khurram, I have a question after this presentation. Then we can
Okay, yeah. So if there is no question regarding the thing, then thank you. I'll again send out the presentation and the notes by the end of the day, if not sooner. And then we'll see you guys next week. Again, make sure that you practice everything, especially the record types, export, OWD settings, security. All of that is a day-to-day functionalities that is not only used by admin but VAs and architects and everybody, because this is basically the real deal that you actually use it on a regular on a Salesforce platform. All right, so thank you everyone. And if you don't have any further question, you guys can drop. And then if you have any question, I'm still here for a few more minutes before we end the call. So thank you everyone.
Thank
Yes, go ahead.